Good evening. I'd like to call to order the special called meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board for March 19th, 2019. Morgan, would you start us with a roll call?
Yes. Raymond Layton.
Here.
Sonny Luzo. Karen Beatty. Don Black. Willie Newkirk Sr.
Here.
Carol Williams.
Present.
Pat Doherty.
Here.
Jeff Midget.
Here.
Jerry Walker. Marshall Ballard.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our only item of business tonight is an item of old business, and it is consideration of a request to rezone approximately 30.81 acres from R8 and R10 residential district to C3 commercial district. The property is located at 703 Carolina Avenue, and the property is further identified as Craven County Parcel ID number 8-044-011. Let's see, what ward is that in? That's usually listed up here.
Be Ward 2.
P2, okay. All right, Morgan, would you like to give us the staff review of this item?
Yes, so this is a large parcel, approximately 30 acres. This large parcel abuts approximately 1,300 feet of a C3 commercially zoned parcel which has road frontage along Trent Road. These parcels are also located within the Trent Road Commercial Corridor Overlay. They're also directly across from C3 zone development on Trent Road. Also, in addition to that, the parcel abuts US 70, US 17, which are major highways. Staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Board recommend approval of this rezoning request to the Board of Aldermen, and all public notice requirements have been fulfilled.
Okay, thank you, Morgan. Okay, at this time, is there any discussion here amongst the board before we open for public comment? Hey, Howard, come join us.
Good.
Yep, come join us. Some stuff right here. So again, is there any public discussion on this before, or excuse me, any board discussion before I open this to for public comment? So you recall this was before us at our last regularly scheduled meeting, although slightly different, but essentially the same parcel, but the entire parcel being rezoned to C3 this time. So is the request.
So if I recollect, we decided to call a special meeting for the purpose of...
Well, so the applicant withdrew the application during our meeting 2 weeks ago. I guess it was 2 weeks ago, a week ago, whenever that was. And this is the application that the city has decided to bring back before us. So there was a lot of discussion about other potential ways to deal with this, but this is what the city is recommending and what the city has brought before us.
So it's basically the same application that was put before us.
Well, instead of a partial rezoning of a parcel, now it's the entire parcel is requested.
Rezoned to C3?
Correct.
The application has been modified from the original. The original was withdrawn, as was previously noted. We are requesting rezoning of 30 acres instead of approximately 9 this time, so it has been changed.
Yes. Okay. Anything else from the board before I open it up for public comment? Okay, hearing none at this time, I will open this item to public comment. What I would like to ask is that anyone want to give the folks that received notice from the city as an adjacent property owner, I'd like to give those folks the first opportunity to speak. And so if you received legal notice from the city and would like to speak about this particular application, please step to the podium, clearly state your name and address for the record, and we'll hear what you have to say.
My name is Sheila Tripp. I'm new at this, and I did receive a letter. And I just had a question because, and mine may be simple. I don't really understand the zoning codes and everything that you have, but I'm at the very end of Chestnut Avenue, and my question is for whatever this is that you're trying to do. Will this impact not only my property, but my surrounding neighbors. I don't really understand what all you guys are trying to do, but whatever you're trying to do, will there have an impact on Chestnut Avenue as far as traffic or anything like that?
So we don't know the answer to that as the Planning and Zoning Board, at least at this time. What is before us is an application to rezone the property. We don't know what the ultimate use of the property is, and the reason given for rezoning is to make the property more compatible with adjacent zoning. And so, within the application that is before us, we don't have any indication of what the ultimate use for the property is intended to be. So I can't answer your question, and perhaps Morgan might be able to help us better answer that question.
I'm in the process of pulling up the GIS map for everyone to see. C3 commercial, not only would child care homes, elderly care homes be permitted there, there would also be some commercial uses as well that would be permitted by right. Again, we don't know, we're not talking about the particular site or what the particular plan is this evening, but we're asking, is the rezoning appropriate for this large parcel that abuts Trent Road corridor, major commercial corridor, and the other zoning surrounding it?
Right. So, Ms. Tripp, if I could, I don't think you said your address. Could we have that for the record, please?
2408 Chestnut Avenue.
Chestnut Avenue? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dan Murphy, Commissioner for Trent Woods. I was here 2 weeks ago. When we got the notice at the town hall, I thought it was actually an old notice resent to us because this was an issue I thought some of the board members for the planning board had heard from the residents of the concerns of changing this to residential, from residential to commercial, and the developer himself had mentioned the exact same project could be completed as residential. So I'm not sure why this is being fast-tracked back to y'all from the city, but I would request that y'all not change this to commercial. I don't see how that's a benefit for the project that's trying to get completed. I think it could be finished either way. It may take longer, but I would much rather a process take longer than New Bern turning to Greenville and have a bunch of commercial things in the mix of residential. So I know that in the beginning comments it was talked about all the commercial property that abates this area, but there is a lot of residential property as well from the Pembroke community as well as from the Trent Woods community that's affected by this. And I think Trent Road already is going to have seeing more traffic as it is, but without a clear vision of any kind of project for commercial, I don't see the need to move this by in a fast-tracked way just to make some with the city happy with a certain project they want to get completed. So I would request that it goes back to where it had left 2 weeks ago and remain as a residential or high-density residential, wherever that would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Anyone else who received a notice would like to speak?
Yes, Stanton Fitzgerald. I represent the owners of SOS Global Express at 2803 Trent Road. We understand that the property that our business situated on is C3, and we do see that the corner of the property is directly across the street from Carolina Avenue, from which I saw in the last meeting was where this apartment complex was slated to be built. My question at that time, and still remains, is the density of this apartment complex so dense that it requires C3 zoning? And why can it not be accommodated under R6 or possibly R8? As you look at the map, completely surrounding this property with just the tip of the property where SOS Global Express is at is R6, R8, and R10. And it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that and when you take a look at this 30 acres, that a vast majority of that is supposedly wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't be developed anyways. And it was my understanding and comments that I heard at the last meeting that the only reason this is being recommended for C3 zoning versus R6 is because it would eliminate a special land use permit. And if the city is backing this project, I would think that that's something that could be attained very easily by the developer. But it just concerns me that you're taking property where this site is actually going to be built unless, has it changed in location from what was shown at the last meeting?
It went from 9 acres to 30.
I understand, but is the place where the apartment complex is going to be built, has it been moved somewhere else in that 30 acres?
That's not part of our application, so
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that.
I would suspect it's going to stay there. So once you make that C3, now you have opened it up to other businesses that can go in there, and it sits, it's tucked in there as you see it on the map. It's nothing but residential. Once you change it to C3, we all know it's never going to go back. And the first business that's going to go in there, okay, if the apartment complex doesn't go in, is going to change the character of that neighborhood. And that's all I have on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, anyone else?
I'm Tommy Hughes, and I live at 1004 Park Drive, which is in Trent Woods, which is within 100 feet of that property. And kind of speaking like him, we would like to see that stay as a residential type zoning. We feel like we'd like to have as much protection as we can from any commercial development as it gets to our property and our neighborhoods down here in Trent Woods. We also have a lot of concern, though I don't think it's something that's planned, but you never know, with traffic. With that, making sure that Carolina Avenue would never be opened into Trent Woods, because that would really direct a lot of traffic through that neighborhood back and forth, and that would be a major concern to us too. The more development you have, C3, like you say, it is off the Trent Road corridor. And does zoning to 30 acres, does that have anything to do with the property that's for sale right now on Trent Wood or on Trent Road, kind of near the tower?
Yeah, certainly not in this application.
I mean, I noticed that a sign went up not too long ago that some property, 5 acres for sale, that butts up against this property. So I just wondered if that had any bearing on rezoning, trying to rezone the whole property. Just a question. And then too, I know the zoning board, this is not something you'll get into, but it'd be something we're very interested in if this does go to apartment type development, the configuration of those apartments and how they are located on that particular piece of property to make sure we have as much buffer as what we have as we can get on that residential side. Right now, as it's designed, you're just meeting Neuse River buffer requirements, which is 50 feet, which is not really much buffer at all. So somewhere along the way, I hope we'll have a lot of input if it goes to that direction, and it is going to be developed.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, hearing none, at this time, I will close the public comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion. So what are we thinking, folks?
Do we as a board have the responsibility of listening and taking into account what the public wants? I mean, what the people in the surrounding area want to.
Well, certainly, that's why we have the public comment period.
Okay.
So our responsibility tonight is to look at the application that is before us and to make a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen. We're not the final say on rezonings. They all go to the Board of Aldermen, and the Board of Aldermen is the final say. So, tonight, what I would hope to leave here with is a vote for a recommendation either to the Board of Aldermen to deny this application, or a vote that for a recommendation that they approve this application. I mean, that's the goal. That's why we're here, and that's the task that is before us. So, is there any discussion that would help us come to a decision tonight?
Is it possible for the people who are buying the property, could they come forth and make another presentation about the 30 acres?
Well, the city owns the property.
Oh, the city.
Correct. The city owns the property.
Why was the change put in up to 30 acres? I remember the gentleman, I guess he represented the developer, or I forget, the gentleman here, was speaking last week, or a couple of weeks ago. He wasn't really concerned about the zoning change. Am I wrong about that? Yeah. Thank you, sir. It seems like now we have 30 acres rather than the ones before. I'm a little confused, especially with the wetlands behind it.
So, my name is Michael Cole, and again, my company is Cole's Nest and Stone. We're in Raleigh and Charlotte, but I live in Trenton. And what we presented last time, again, we've been working with the city because we do not, I represent Mosaic Development out of Charlotte. And Jimmy Royster is here, and Martin Blaney is also here with the Housing Authority. We are attempting to build 84 units in 12 buildings on a very small part of a large city-owned tract. The predominant part of that is undevelopable. So we came in to zone C3 because there is no apartment or multifamily zoning category in the New Bern ordinance. So the only way you can do multifamily is either through special use permit or through C3, which is, more intense zoning. We're on a very tight time frame because we have contractual obligations to close and buy the property by May 10th. And so when you look at all the things, all the I's that need to be dotted and T's crossed in order for this project to go forward, we had to move forward with the zoning, and the special use permit was going to be difficult. And we were advised by the city, we've been working very closely with the city, that in their overall land use and their plans for the city, they have the big picture, that C3 actually, instead of just doing a small part of the property as C3, that they felt like it was better for the long term to do the entire property as C3. So we're basically responding to the city in terms of what their recommendations are. Our plan has not changed in terms of the layout. We've been working with an architect. We have a very high quality development. Again, that's not part of the decision because this is not conditional zoning. It's as Morgan said, it's straight up zoning. So we're just trying to move our project forward. It's a high quality project, and we're working with the city, and they are suggesting that this is in the best interest of the city as a whole to rezone the entire piece, which fronts on Trent Road to C3. So that's a little bit of the background. We do have buffers built into the project. We passed out a packet in the last meeting. Again, it's not conditional zoning, to give you some sense of the scale of the project. And none of those things have changed. We're just working with the city on what they believe is strategically in the best interest of the city to move forward. So.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
I have a question. What income bracket are you aiming for in this project, in these apartments you build? Who are you aiming for?
We can't be talking about the specific site plan though and income brackets. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not trying to.
Well, it's not, that's just not part of the application that's before us, unfortunately. And so, we really need to focus on the application to rezone. And so the
Well, I
site,
personally feel
so
we
the
don't have
site,
enough information to give a quality answer, so we just need to go ahead on and, ask for a motion. Because anything we need to ask, we got ordered, that we can't ask.
well, let's see if we have any more discussion, and then I'll, if there is none, I'll call for a motion.
Well, he did mention that he said the city has a bigger picture of what they want in their land
Well,
use plan.
the land use plan,
Right,
which
okay.
we all
Well-
have, I mean, we all have access to that.
But evidently, you must have something in specifics when it comes to that piece of property.
Well,
Because,
Mr. Sevior might be able to answer that question.
okay,
Hi, Mr. Majette, Board. Brad Sevior. I'm the Land and Community Development Administrator for the city. This parcel is right outside, right in the Trent Road corridor. That's a commercial corridor. It's a commercial zoning district we're proposing. You can take a look at the map and you can see it's surrounded by commercial uses and zoning, both. And additionally, the predominant reason we recommended to rezone the entire property instead of just a portion is because best practice for land use is to not split zone, what we call split zone parcels. So you have two different zoning boundaries on the parcel, and it can be really a pain to determine where one zoning district ends and where another begins. So when future development comes through, if it does come through, you run into troubles that way. So we don't really like to, as a practice, recommend doing multiple zoning types on a single parcel. And that's why we did it that way.
Quick question.
Yep.
What type of accommodation have been planned for traffic? When I viewed the area, it's a dead end. So what are they planning on doing in terms of traffic, getting into whatever you plan on developing?
We'd have to look at specific plans for the site in order to make any sort of determinations in terms of traffic. But the road there is a sufficiently wide road to serve many types of uses.
So the way it works is any site plan or any development has to go through what's called departmental review, a departmental site plan review. And that's where all of the city departments review the site plan that's before them, and they make comments and changes based on ordinances and codes. And so, but again, that doesn't come before us. That's all done by staff, by city staff. That's right.
Yeah, any plans for any type of development in that area will go before that site plan review, and fire will take a look at it. Public Works for roads and things will take a look at it. We take a look at it. Water and sewer, all utilities, all of that will be considered if and when any plans are presented.
Yeah. Fire department.
Yes.
you
Well, let me
say,
ask another question. So it's not going to be a multi-family situation now, right?
It could be a
Well, we met
multifamily.
last time, the 9-point-some acre was supposed to be for a multi-family.
Sure,
So-
and that may be the case, but when it comes to rezoning issues, because when you rezone it, you're not obligating any sort of project into it with this process. You're just you look at that map, you see that map up there, and you see the commercial zoning all through that corridor, and you see the commercial use, that R8 that's next to it, that's a commercial use type as well. And all you have to do is look at that map and see, is this appropriate to the area? Personally, I believe it is.
well, on the Trent Road side, yes, that's commercial, but on the backside, that's residential, isn't it?
That's R8, and that's a multifamily development. So we actually consider that to be a commercial use. So even though the zoning on that particular parcel is not commercial, the use type of that parcel, the surrounding use, it is a commercial use, and a lot of the surrounding zoning and uses are commercial. So, I look at that and I think that it's the case that it's appropriate.
So, the property that says R10 in the yellow, is that the Pembroke side?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Those people out there is that yellow strip, right? Up to
There's
where we see the R8.
sort of, there's a portion of it is C3 already, so a portion of the parcel is already C3,
Right.
a portion of the parcel is R8, and a portion of the parcel is R10. It's currently split zoned, and if at the time when the zoning was taken into consideration, if they had done it and they hadn't split zoned it, then we wouldn't be running into this issue right now, potentially. Because we'd be having either C3 or R8, and either one of these would be workable districts.
And the reason why we're at this point now is because we're either creating a convenience or inconvenience for one of the particular parties, right?
Well, anytime you're seeking a change to a zoning district, there's, somebody seeking some type of accommodation. You don't just do this for no reason.
Right.
You don't just come here for fun. Even though this area is, obviously planned to be a commercial area, it's a commercial corridor. You can see we have an overlay right down the street from it, a commercial overlay right down the street. You don't just change it arbitrarily. You wait until there's a cause or a need so that you can fulfill that.
And this all started last week based on that one area down there that's R8, right? And then we expanded it to C3 for a larger space, right?
Sorry?
The R8, is that where we were last period? That
I wasn't at the last meeting. I couldn't be sure.
People here.
So yeah, it was a
That little piece R8 right
partial
there.
rezoning
Yeah.
of the 30-acre parcel.
Right.
You
So
were,
that
What was
R8.
before us at last week, from R8 to C, well, it was
Right
actually
there,
from
yeah.
R10 and R8 zoned,
Yeah.
rezoned to R10. But now it's the C3. But now the application that's before us is for the entire 30 acres, some of which is R10, some of which is R8,
Understood.
rezoning the entire parcel to C3.
right. Instead of doing
I'm trying to
just
make
a
sure.
portion of the parcel, like Brad explained, it makes much more sense to do the entire parcel in the end, and
Just best practices, split zoning. We don't like it.
it gets very difficult.
Any other questions for Mr. Sevior while he's at the podium?
So if we do this right here to C3, where that R8 is, it'll be a C3, right?
Yeah, so what has
Okay.
just been highlighted,
Yeah.
that's the parcel.
Okay, now, are we gonna come back and at my lower left corner, in the lighter shade of orange, brown, whatever I call it, it says R6, are we now needing to go back and change that to C3 too?
Only if it's
That's already
requested by
developed
the,
out.
Property owners,
Only if it's a request.
from the property owner.
So the
correct.
property owner is asking for all of that area that's highlighted now to move to C3, right?
Correct. That's the application that's
Right.
before us.
So that's just that individual again.
Correct. It's only, there's,
And
it's
the
only the
individual
parcel
is the
that's,
city of New Bern right now, right?
correct.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion before I entertain a motion? Okay, hearing none at this time, I'll entertain a motion. Now, I will remind you that because we are not the final say on this, your motion should be in the form of a recommendation. Okay? So I'll entertain a motion.
I'm torn between two lovers, and I'll admit it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay?
I recommend approval of the rezoning request to the Board of Aldermen. This request came for our meeting here at March 19th, 2019 of the New Bern Planning and Zoning Board. This is request consideration of an application to rezone 30.81 plus or minus acres parcel from R8, R10 residential district to C3 commercial district located at 703 Carolina Avenue. Further identify this property is Craven County parcel ID number 8-044-011.
Okay, thank you, Pat. We have a motion for a recommendation to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. Morgan, why don't we have a roll call vote on this one?
Sir, everyone understands the motion on the floor.
Yes.
Mr. Newkirk?
Here.
Is that a yay or no? Yay or nay, Mr. Newkirk?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Ballard?
Yes.
Mr. Layton?
Yes.
Mr. Beatty?
I'm gonna go for a no.
Mr. Majek?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
No.
Okay. Motion passes.
That's 5-2, the motion carries. Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. That is the only item of business on our agenda this evening. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.